Let me ask you again, then, Inspector Gregson. Did you or did you not strike a deal with the witness next to you in the stand, Master Ashley Graydon? Specifically, did you furnish the witness with confidential case details in exchange for this music box disc? Did you reveal the existence of the peephole in the pawnbroker storeroom door, Inspector? I did. Stop. What are you doing, man? It's all exactly like the young Eastern lawyer said. When the trial resumed after the recess, and we were stood here in a stand together. And that's when he approached me with a deal. Shut up, you imbecile. Shut up! Psst. You there. You're the detective who turned up at the pawnbroker the other day, aren't you? I may have something you're looking for, Inspector. With me at this very moment. So how about a trade? I suggest you accept. But information that may make certain individuals uncomfortable will soon become very public indeed. I can't let that information become public knowledge. Not under any circumstances. So I accepted the man's proposal, and told him details about the case that should have put him in the clear. The peephole in the storeroom door, and the bloodstains of the overcoat. By giving false testimony, this witness intended to have the defendant wrongly accused of murder. Inspector, you knew that. Putting the innocence of a girl in the back for government secrets, eh, Gregson? Talk about being quite an inspector for Scotland Yard. Yet you still revealed those details to facilitate the witness's perjury. I did. But then it turned out the peephole one had only been made that night, after the incident took place. Scotland Yard wasn't aware of it, if I'm perfectly honest. Well, Mr. Graydon, what do you have to say for yourself? There's nothing and no one left for you to hide behind. You struck a deal with the inspector in order to escape conviction of a very serious crime. Namely this. You are the third intruder who broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question. And you perpetrated the murder of the proprietor, Mr. Pop Windyback. You. The traitor! Wait. Graydon? Gregson! Bailiff! Restrain that man! At once! Oh God. No. That's it then. It's all over. I despised my life growing up. Those slums are vile places. I was cursed from birth, born into poverty, the son of a penniless artisan. My parents did nothing but quarrel all day long. What little money they had was never spent on me. So I set about studying, to better myself, to one day escape from that hellhole. And I eventually became a communications officer. I admire your determination. But then you decide to try to sell government secrets. Why? Isn't it obvious? Because I wanted money. Even now, years later, the nightmares of my life in the slums wake me in the small hours. I wanted to drown them out with more money than anyone who lived in that squalor could even imagine. Then one day, I met him. Mr. Magnus McGilded. You're a fiend with a core talent, so you are. I have money to throw your way if you're interested. All you need to do is go along with me, little plan now. I was to steal the Ministry's telegraphic message logs, and McGilded would buy them for a handsome sum. As I was responsible for inspections of the Ministry's communications office. It was a simple enough task. So it all comes back to McGilded once again. He was the one who started with this plan in the first place, and roped you into this with the devil's carrot, that is money. If it wasn't for McGilded, then you wouldn't be here in the first place. The lure of the devil's offerings. How easy it is to succumb. Indeed. But you must surely have realized the seriousness of the crime you were committing. And for that reason, I took great lengths to assure that my actions were untraceable. By using the music box. My father was a brickmaker, though my mother divorced him when I was still a child. Yes, Mr. Mason Middleton. That's right. He was very skilled with his hands. He had once been a music box maker's apprentice. I imagine his skills would be sufficient to create a machine that could generate Morse code. Ah, I see. So that's Mason's role in this entire story. You made your father create that music box, and then when the day would come, Mason would actually give McGilded the box himself during that day in the omnibus. So I sought out my father again to employ his services. It was the first time I'd seen him since I left the slums 10 years earlier. Look at you, Ashley. What a fine gent you've become, eh? He was a different man to the one in my memory. A thin, frail old man. But poverty had never broken him, never corrected him like it had me. I was sure that he wouldn't help me if I told him the real reason. So I made up a story. I've got some work for you, father. I need some music box discs made. Music box discs, eh? A musician friend of mine has written some music he wants to sell to the public. I brought the score with me. There are two, actually. I'd be delighted, son. It's been 20 years since I did any work like this, though. Fetch my tools, would you? They are in a lot. And that's why I had him make the two discs. Thereby splitting information in two. You were taking considerable precautions indeed. It was to protect myself as much as anything. It meant that I could deal with McGilded in two separate transactions. The first involved the first of the two discs and the music box for playing them. I exchanged them with McGilded for 10 guineas. Then, on receipt of the second disc, he would pay 1,000 guineas. So, what happened on the omnibus 2 months ago was the second part of a deal, the exchange of the second disc. Yeah, basically. Something tells me that when Mason finally learned the true nature of this deal in the omnibus with Graydon, with McGilded, not Graydon, with McGilded, once he learned that, some chaos happened and Mason, he didn't want to allow this to happen with his son. that if the deal was struck, that would mean like imprisonment for Graydon if he were to find out. So instead, Mason refused. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. Yes, I've sold the man information that way a number of times already. And it seems he became reluctant to part with his money. Or that, you know, could have been that McGilded was an ass and decided to kill Mason like right there and still have his money as well. So maybe Mason never knew the nature of this deal to begin with. But that doesn't quite make sense, Mr. Graydon. For why was it that on the omnibus 2 months ago, your father, Mr. Milverton, was the one dealing with Mr. McGilded and not yourself? Yeah, that is a good point. You could have just done it yourself. And I received 1,000 guineas after my first completed dealings with McGilded. I decided to give 200 to my father for his troubles. But my father realized something was amiss. In time, he worked out that I must be involved in something dubious. And when he did, he said to me, okay, so he did realize that something was suspicious. I mean, 1,000 guineas, that's quite a lot for just a music box. Next time there's an exchange, you'll let your old man do it. Understand? Oh. Otherwise, I won't take your money anymore. Could it be that Mason actually realized that it would be pretty dangerous if Graydon actually went there instead of Mason? Because if you were to think about it, if Graydon actually went there on the omnibus, then he would have been the one to get killed. Maybe Mason deep down realized or figured out that something like that would happen, so instead he would actually do the deal instead. Oof. That was my father's way of dealing with it, I suppose. Climb into the omnibus, hand over the second disc, and take the money from McGilded. That's it. He had no idea what was actually on the disc I'd ask him to make. He never knew. Just like I'll never know why everything went so horribly wrong that night. All I know is that the disc was taken from him, and he never returned home. It was only then that I found out what sort of monster McGilded really was. So after 10 years of not once uttering it, I swore on my father's name. To exact revenge. Revenge? As anyone with even the remotest knowledge of the man will no doubt be able to imagine, McGilded brought all his wealth and influence to bear in most despicable of ways. To crush any semblance of justice in this trial. Amen to that. The crime scene was tampered with, evidence was fixed, and witnesses were bribed. That trial 2 months ago was a farce from start to finish. My feet had barely touched British soil back then, and I walked into that hornet's nest, completely unaware of the sinister background to it all. Again, like the most horrible of luck when that is your first case in this country, Ironosuke. Again, I apologize. I'd made plenty of money out of my dealings with McGilded back then, so I spared nothing in my arrangements 2 months ago. I knew exactly who to hire. If you're willing to pay the price, there are people in the city willing to do anything you ask. McGilded himself had shown me that. Are you saying that? I think you have the picture now. after he twisted everything to his favor in this courtroom to ensure that he walked free. I took matters into my own hands and delivered the justice that monster deserved. Oh, that tragic accident following the trial here 2 months ago was planned and executed by yours truly. I see. McGilda's death that day was caused by this man. Everything is ready, sir. If you'd like to follow me into the courtroom. And it was this bailiff. You were actually disguised as a bailiff as well. What's this, officer? 'Tis sooner than I was led to believe. I hope it's not inconvenient, sir. There were some changes to the schedule. Oh, I must be making tracks now. This time for the inspection. They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. So that policeman who came to tell McGill that he could examine the omnibus again. That's right, an imposter, hired by me. Oh, hired by you. Okay, well, that actually makes sense. I guess so. It would seem that you used that tactic like 2 months ago. Go figure that today, one of the things that would bring you down was also somebody else who was disguised as a bailiff. And that someone was Sholmes. Huh. Quite poetic. Gilded used his wealth to manipulate the trial. He paid people to adulterate the omnibus with all manner of false evidence. He threatened witnesses to lie in their testimony. So I gave the man a taste of his own medicine. Once the omnibus was doused in paraffin, one of my sham policemen ushered McGilden inside, and sent him on a one-way journey to hell. An eye for an eye. That's how I avenged my father's death. Spine-chilling account indeed. But that wasn't the end of it for me. There was a loose end, you see. A loose end? Yes. I should think it's obvious. The second disc, which my father had taken to exchange with McGill did. Oh, yes. There was indeed no mention of it in the man's trial 2 months ago. Clearly because it had been removed from the scene of the crime. When I realized it was missing, I remembered something. Something from the first time I dealt with McGildet. And this is the first of the 2 discs. And the music box you need to play them. Well, look at that now. What an ingenious little invention. So then, as promised, 10 guineas for you, young men. What's this? Weedyback's pawnbrokery. Aye. 'Tis a pawnbroker's ticket, so it is. You can use it to redeem an article I've deposited there for you. There's no need to give a name. Just hand over the ticket and tell the fiend to watch for it. I put a jewel in pawn for you. You'll fetch a good 10 guineas if you sell it, so it will. I've never heard of a pawnbrokery being used in quite that way before. Have you not, Mr. Graydon? London's pawnbrokeries are very useful places, you know. Each one is like an extremely secure vault. Quoting Sholmes here. So I knew that if he'd taken steps to hide the disc, he would be in that pawnbrokery somewhere. And that on the night he killed my father, he must have entrusted the ticket to someone. Yeah, to Gina. I remember now that when we first met you at Windybags that afternoon 2 days ago, you had a description of Miss Lestrade written down. How did you know who you were looking for? Yeah, that is a good question. Because, you know, something tells me that if you were trying your best to find that disc, you could have just done so like 2 months ago after the incident, but it actually took you 2 months, and only now you managed to get your hands. I guess it must have been really difficult for you to figure out who did it, like who had that ticket, and only recently you found that out. So yeah, how did you know? From the trunk. That pickpocket's testimony was clearly peculiar. Anyone could see that. I realized immediately that she was another of McGillis' pawns, that he must have threatened her somehow. I was fairly convinced it would be her who had the ticket. So I started to make some inquiries. I had a strong suspicion the girl would come out of the woodwork under the redemption deadline. And he was absolutely right. And yes, sure enough, she did. All I needed to do was to wait until the girl went to Windybags to redeem the articles. But unfortunately, she redeemed only McGillet's overcoat and the one disc that was in its pocket. The one important music box with the second disc inside was missing, because it had already been forfeited 2 days earlier. Yeah. Because it was under a completely different, it was under a completely different redemption ticket for this one. The 10 shillings. Which is what McGill also wrote. I wasn't aware of the fact. Had I not been, I could have avoided my nighttime excursion. Meanwhile, as a— Hey! Gregson! Oh, thank goodness. I thought you actually died there. Jesus Christ. Okay, so you're still alive. He didn't actually break your neck there with his cane. That or you, Gregson, just came back from the dead thanks to Zeke's. Meanwhile, as our investigation into the stolen government secrets was progressing, they picked up on the fact that Matilda was involved. Inspector, oh, you've recovered fast. Yeah, you're surprised too, Ronosuke. My orders were to recover the stolen information as quickly as possible. So we started gathering the fella's possessions and examining whatever we could lay our hands on. We had a full-scale investigation going on in the yard. We had to keep it as quiet as we could. Then, when the inspector here took the disc from me in the pawnbrokery that day, I became nervous. I was sure the music box and the second disc were still there in the shop somewhere. So I knew that it was a race against time. I had to find those articles before the police did. So that's what prompted you to break into the place that same night. With the help of your old friends, the Skulking Brothers. What happened that night in the pawnbrokery, I can only describe as a nightmare. While Nash and Ringo were searching the counter, I located the music box I'd sold to McGildet on the shelves of forfeited articles. And the second disc was inside. Yes, I slipped it into my pocket with a very deep sigh of relief. But then, something entirely unexpected happened. What are you doing in my shop? A gunshot rang out in the shop, and I felt a sharp pain in my left arm. The broker fired his gun, and a bullet pierced your limb. Yes, exactly. But unfortunately, I decided to bring my own gun with me that night, just in case. Before I knew what was happening, I'd fired back. The man had already turned to flee. I hadn't intended to fire in his direction, much less kill him. But unfortunately for both of us, the bullet hit home. It struck him in the middle of his back as he fled through the storm door for refuge. Sorry tale. It all took place in the blink of an eye. I can't imagine Nash and Ringo even realized what had happened at first. I was terrified. So I fled. And that's the whole story. That's everything that happened at Winnie Back's on that wretched night. Earlier, you called McGilda a monster. A man who used his wealth and influence to distort the facts and escape justice for the crime of murder. What tragic irony. For what you have done is exactly the same. You become the very monster you saw and despise so deeply in McGilded. Well, I'm sure that you're gonna have a lot to think of in jail from now on, Raiden. Yes, I think I have. Oh, it has been a long and exhausting trial. You tell me. This has gotten to be like the longest day of trial that I've had until this point. Before I was questioning if this was gonna be the case, but now I think I'm 100% sure that this was quite a day, that's for sure. Fitting. Definitely fitting for our last case. Definitely gonna be resting for a long time after this. However, it seemed that at last we have arrived at the truth. Inspector Gregson, what of Mr. Ashley Graydon? He's being restrained, my lord. He is being escorted to the yard. He'll be charged with the murder of Mr. Wheatleyback and stealing of government secrets. Very good. And you, Inspector. Regrettably, you will have to face charges yourself. Yes, my lord. Of course. It transpires that you were complicit in helping a criminal escape justice. That fact remains, whether or not you were doing so in the line of duty. The crime is a serious one, Inspector, and inexcusable. And I do also have to say that, like, I have no doubt that Gregson is probably feeling very sorry about this as well at this point. Like, I can see it in his face, that he feels bad for what happened. Well, you also will have some time to think about this entire thing yourself, for a good while, Gregson. Now to the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. Yeah? It is time for the final adjudication. Is the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Yes, sir. Guard up squadron standing by, sir. This is really it now. The last push, the final call, the finishing whistle. My men are ready to deliver their verdicts. Yeah, okay, we get it. Give the final verdict. Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You will now declare your final decisions to the court.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Haha! That's the stuff. I am off the hook.
Finally, Bruno. You finally managed to do it.
Hooray! Congrats, Runo. You've definitely proven yourself to be quite a good attorney there. Finally is the word. I really wasn't sure if we'd come out on top for a while there.
So you were right. You're the best lawyer in the world.
Mr. Strahd, I'm not finished with you yet.
Eh?
What?
What are you looking at me like that for?
Before you start enjoying your freedom, there are certain other crimes to consider. Uh-oh.
Eh?
2 months ago, in my courtroom no less, you gave false testimony, did you not? In relation to the trial today, not only did you unlawfully enter Widdyback's pawnbrokery, you also attempted to abscond with Mr. McGildett's property as well, it seems.
Eh?
Yeah, sadly, Gina, this is all we could manage to do. You're definitely gonna have to take the brunt of that one as well. Although, in my eyes, it's not as bad as, well, you could have been accused for. Like, you were definitely not guilty for what transpired here, but in terms of going inside the pawnbrokery and, you know, forcing Widdyback into going to the storeroom and all that, yeah.
I never done nothing of that sort.
Oh, of course not. It's not like you were gleefully wearing McGildett's coat in your cell yesterday or anything.
No. Just when I was getting excited about throwing a party for Ginny this evening.
And turning our attention to the defense, determining that, when played together, the music box just contained a message in Morse code was... well, it's certainly a most unexpected revelation, Counsel. Such is the way of the Naruto. He does prevail and succeed in the most unexpected ways. Get ready for that, because he's gonna be doing that a lot in the future, Judge. That's so, my lord. The execution was caught entirely off guard. In fact, I think we should applaud my learned friend's courage here today. I propose a toast to demanding that government secrets be disseminated before the entire courtroom. Oh. Very sorry about that. Hey, I mean, it had to be done in order to prove someone's innocence. As far as I'm concerned, I don't give a rat's ass about some country's government secrets and all that. It's all just alien stuff to me when it comes to that. I only know one language, and that is the innocence of people. It was the only way that I could get Inspector Gregson to admit to what he'd done, so... Isn't that... It's, about the sounds produced by the music box before. Oh god. Don't tell me that the Morse code didn't actually hold government secrets. In which case, we're fucked. I do wonder if that was really Morse code at all. What? What are you saying, madame? Oh, well, it's just that I'm really rather fanatical when it comes to Morse code, you see. So much so that the whole world seems to be covered in dots and dashes to me, in fact. Goodness, madam. What a happy level of obsession one feels. Yeah, you know, it is definitely an interesting obsession that you've taken in these 2 months. Like, after your last obsession of typewriting. But I must say that in my opinion, the sound produced by those two discs were nothing more than that. A meaningless series of two different tones. What? Can there really be? Well, then what the hell does this mean? It wasn't Morse code after all? My lord, the defense would like to listen to the music box again.
Are you off your nut? How many times do I have to tell you? Those discs contain ministerial secrets, Sunshine.
This courtroom is not an appropriate forum to discuss the nature of the government communications. We know McGilded conspired to trade national secrets with our enemies. Secrets acquired from Mr. Graydon. Now that the man has admitted to his crimes, we have no need to pursue the matter further. It's really going to bother me. Mr. Strahd.
Yeah, me lord?
That which you have seen today here in this courtroom has been extremely disturbing. Falsified evidence, intimidation, perjury. A grim catalogue of depravity. An appalling experience to perform any child.
Come on. It ain't nothing I didn't see most days in the back slums.
I beg your pardon?
If you're weak, you pay for it. That's just how life goes.
Chino.
But look, I reckon I've worked something out today. The world ain't fair, but if you want it to change, you've gotta start at home. You gotta change how you are yourself.
Oh, that's a very laudable lesson, I would say. I eagerly look forward to the born-again Mrs. Strahd, never gracing my courtroom with her presence again. Yeah, I hope so too, Your Honor. I hope so. I hope so too. Now, with regard to the murder of Mr. Pop Wiedeback, proprietor of pawnbrokery business on Baker Street, I hereby declare the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, not guilty. Congratulations, Gina. You're free to go. That is all. Court is adjourned. On a personal note, I must say you've surprised me, my Far Eastern friend. Despite being a Nipponese, you saw through the pretense to the malice that festered within that Englishman. And at the same time, saw through the grime to the surprising heart of your English client. You have a curious talent for judging character, especially considering our very different cultures. I don't think there's anything curious about it. Whether we're from the Empire of Great Britain or the Empire of Japan, we're all human beings. We're not so very different on the inside. Amen to that, yo. You know, I took this case for one very simple reason. To lock swords with you once again here in the courtroom. You did. When I encountered you for the first time 2 months ago, it reminded me of toasting friendship and trust with another Nipponese, only to find my trust betrayed. Through you, I hope to look into the eyes of the man I once knew, and try to understand. Okay, so you had a friend who was also Japanese, and he apparently betrayed your trust. You mentioned something similar earlier today, about total betrayal at the hands of the Japanese. What happened exactly? Well, you may ask. And one day, when the time comes, you will learn the answer, whether you like it or not. Alright, then I'll wait for that day, if I must. Coming to be known as the Reaper of the Bailey, and my retirement from service 5 years ago. It gives me cause to wonder if our meeting has some deeper purpose. So, farewell, my learned Nipponese fellow. Until we meet again. So long, Van Zieks. It has been great knowing you. Whew, boy. 5:24 p.m. That sounds like a lot more than that. It should have been like 11 p.m. It should be the morning of the next day. Alright, well, the day of trial is finished. That more than likely was the longest day of trial I had been a part of thus far in the Ace Attorney series. So, yeah, some of you may know by now. If not, well, I guess it is a perfect time for me to talk about it here for a little while before we end the case with everyone celebrating Gina's not guilty verdict. I will be retiring from the Ace Attorney series now. It is with a sad heart that I have to say this, but I've been thinking about it for months now, and I feel like I just want to do something else. Focus my attention somewhere else. Like, under normal conditions, I would have continued with the second part of Great Ace Attorney, like right after this, but I feel like I just want to go a different direction for right now. It is a bit difficult thing to explain properly to you guys, and I feel like I'm gonna sound very selfish to some of you guys, but if that's going to be the case, then and I will take it. A part of the reason why I feel like this is because I don't know, I feel like I failed to entertain a lot of people with the series. I know that some of you have enjoyed it, and you know, a part of me would have said that this was well enough for me to continue for you guys, but I feel like I could have done so much more, and well, I didn't. Like, did I bring anything new to the table with this? Not really. With this last day of trial, this really did not help me whatsoever. Like, I had my own reasons before this. But I guess another reason that I've just found out, like, recently is because, well, while the mystery part of this case was good, while some of the twists and turns that surprised me and a few bumps in the road that made me think twice, like, while all that was good, you know, that is the thing. It's just good. Like, it didn't wow me. Like, honest to God, I was more interested in what would happen to Gina, like, what Susato is going through. Like, I was interested in seeing Iris and Sholmes in action. Hell, when Graydon strangled Gregson with the cane, I thought that Gregson died. It was shocking to me, and I felt like really sad that that was it for Gregson. So yeah, like I was interested in that sort of stuff. Whereas the mystery parts, it's just the same structures as I've gone through plenty of times before. Like, case starts normally, then the incident happens. We investigate a bit and convince our defendant to let us help them. We go through the day of trial, uncover evidence, cross-examine, do a summation examination. Judge asks us to explain our logic like hundreds of times. Van Zieks warns us hundreds of times of the consequences of our actions. Zieks tells us to give proof hundreds of times. The culprit laughs in our faces that we don't have proof. But then we find new proof. And then the culprit has their breakdown. The culprit then explains to us the motivation for why they did all this after we solved the howdunit, which really, why can't you let the reader figure out the motive like during the trial, an investigation or something? Like, it's... maybe this is just me, but it felt as if this last day of trial was somehow artificially made even longer than normal. Like, I feel like maybe you could have achieved the same important moments and revelations and like uncovering the truth for this like half of its runtime. Maybe in the same length of the last case of Trials and Tribulations, maybe? Like, is it just me? Did Ryonosuke and Van Zieks overly explain their reasonings more than necessary, maybe? Did they make the cross-examinations longer than necessary? Did Ryonosuke get slammed against the wall more than it was necessary? Did the judge pound the gavel and yell, "Order! Order! Order!" to the point that it became so repetitive? When we found the second disc, couldn't we have just gone straight to putting the disc inside that music box and have that really awesome climax with Ryonosuke and his undying spirit to defend Gina? But instead it took us like an extra 15 minutes to get there. I don't know, guys, like, I wanted something new, something fresh. Like, I loved Case 2 and 3 because they felt so different in terms of their structure. Like, I needed something drastically different. Something that would stimulate my brain and my soul more than it did. Like, am I the only crazy person here who was not interested with the mystery and the structure of this case? Like, I'm sure that everyone else loved this. And I'm probably the only here who is being a party pooper or anything like that. It's not a bad case. But at the same time, it's not something that blew me or anything when it comes to its mystery. So, yeah, screw the mystery part. Like right now, I am more interested in our main protagonists and what they will do now. Ryonosuke, like Iris, Shams, Gina, like everyone. Like, what Ryonosuke's final thoughts are gonna be after this? Like, see Shams recover their health back. Like, hear Gina's thoughts after this. It's gonna be definitely a while until I get to the second game or something, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what the future will hold. Like, I'm saying as if this is gonna be the last time I'm gonna be seeing these characters. Nah, honestly, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that. I may have said that in the past, but things change in time. And, you know, now that I talked about this is gonna be like 100 times more difficult to go through this epilogue now, given that now we're gonna have the happy moment and I've been a little bit sour. So, you know what? I am gonna take a tiny bit of a break here myself a bit, drink some water, and afterwards we shall enjoy our last moments with the cast. Alright, so back over here. Let's see our kids being happy around here. It's done. It's over at last. Yeah, it's over, indeed. I feel the same way as you do, Ryonosuke. And I've been through cases like this, so it really shouldn't be a surprise, but yeah, this took like a lot of it out of me when it comes to its length. But where's Iris disappeared to?
Ah! Congratulations, Gina! I knew it all along. I knew that you were innocent. Well, you did what you said, Miss Naruto. You believed in me, right up to the end. Yeah, as odd as your name. What's odd about it? I told you I had faith in you, didn't I? And, you know, when he says that he has faith in people, he is like 99% right. I mean, it's in his name as well. No one ever asked before, see. Kept a promise, I mean. Properly. Well, that's awful. I figured something out today. All me life, growing up in the slums, I never trusted no one. And that's just because I've been scared of being stabbed in the back. I mean, the more you trust someone, the more it hurts when they let you know. Well, I'm not gonna lie, that is true, what you said there, but... I gotta look at it with, what is it called? Like a half-full cup of water. Yeah, I think I can understand that. After all, I had a taste of it in that trial 2 months ago. I chose to trust someone and paid for it. And that betrayal left a big scar. You know though, Gina, I worked something out quite recently too. Trusting in someone else is an exercise in learning to trust yourself. And when your gut tells you it's the right thing to do, and your trust is rewarded, there's no better feeling in the world. I think I have you to thank for reminding me of that valuable lesson. Oh, well. If you say so. Don't make a fair lot of sense to me, though. I'm trying to say that putting my faith in you, Gina, has been a real pleasure. For crying out loud, pack it in! But I suppose I sort of feel the same way. I mean, sometimes trusting someone else is, you know, alright. It is definitely more than alright. You'll see. You'll see after this. Thanks. This is the way I see it, Yonosuke. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. After this experience, I'm starting to feel like I understand what you mean. Kazuma, am I living up to your expectations? Am I turning out to be the lawyer you believed I could be? Thus, Kazuma smiles as you say that. Which definitely tells you, yes, definitely. Pardon interruption. But what the deuce does a man have to do to be noticed around here, my dear fellow? Hey, you're back. I guess you're back as well. You're back to full Sherlock Holmes mode once again. Christ. These people have like high endurance, should I say? Yeah, they have like high endurance. Well, no, actually, they have like high recovery. First is Gregson and now Sherlock Holmes once again. You should be in bed for days, sir. It's too late for that voice now. It's too late for that voice now, Miss Naruto. I've been standing here patiently in the corner of the room for an eternity. Ah, yes, it was me all along. I would have said when finally you noticed me. But you people, with your incessant babbling. Ah, Mr. Shams. Yes, it was me all along. You see. Oh, Shams. I surely am gonna miss you. I assumed you'd been taken back to the hospital, to be honest. Indeed I was. But I managed to escape once again. Oh. Yeah, that's like the best response. Oh. You know, by this point, we probably shouldn't be surprised by Sherlock Holmes's antics. Just saying. I happen to be aware of one or two foibles of the doctor who was tending. I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily issued me with a leave of absence. By the way, have you noticed like anything different with your body? Like once you woke up and such, you don't feel like you have something inside your body that you shouldn't have, right? Just asking. All very above board. But enough of my adventures. That was a fine victory, Mr. Naruto. Your tireless efforts just a reward that I feel. Congratulations are in order. As a close friend, I tip my hat at you. Oh, thank you. Some great detective you are. Great at being cold as ice, maybe. Have I irked you in some way, Mr. Strong? While you've been having a snooze in your nice soft bed, some of us have been fighting for our lives. Well, he was at his limit. You know, you have to understand that. Ah, well. That bullet did cause me to lose a substantial amount of blood, it's true. So I have indeed been feeling somewhat cold. Not perhaps as cold as ice, but... well, have a few. Oh. Could you take your hands off my neck, please, Mr. Sholmes? Can... like, maybe you can try it on my neck, maybe? Can you touch my neck with your hands? Or maybe we can touch hands, maybe? So that I can feel it? And, in some way, I suppose. Congratulations are in order for you too, Mr. Strand. Well, yeah, I didn't feel like any cold. In fact, it was super warm. But maybe that was just me. What's that supposed to mean? Why so half-hearted? Oh, naturally it isn't my intention to alarm you, but... an acquittal in a trial with that particular persecutor is perhaps a little... precarious. Well done, Miss Chalmers. Not alarming in the slightest. Oh, the Reaper, you mean? Because anyone who's found not guilty in a trial... because anyone who's found... I guess now we have G9 doing an impersonation of Sherlock Holmes. A pretty good impersonation. Because anyone who's found not guilty in a trial he was working on winds up dead anyway. Is that it? The very point I was trying to make. Yeah, you know what? I feel like by this point, like, I mean, unless we're gonna find out that Natsume is actually dead. Unless we're gonna find that out. And I pray to God that's not gonna be the case for Gina, please. Like, knock on the wood. Good Christ. But yeah, you know, something tells me that the Ziggs is a good judge of characters, unless we're talking about the Japanese, in which case he's being a racist fuck. But other than that, he can be a good judge of character. He knows who needs to be killed. He is like, Ziggs is like the Dexter of the great Ace Attorney series and such. You know, of Ace Attorney in general, I think. Yeah, I can call him that. He's like the Dexter of the Ace Attorney series. He only goes after the bad people who escape scot-free. It's exemplified by the fate of Mr. McGilden, in fact. Ah, but of course, I pay no attention to such irrational drivel myself. Actually, you know what? That's a good point. It was actually Graydon who did like the killing for McGilden. Maybe Ziggs would have gone after him at some point. Who knows? But given the fact that we've learned that Graydon was the one who did it, it sort of goes into that idea of fate being the case. Which, again, that's a little bit scarier than if all the deaths after the trials were just Ziggs' hands. Because maybe the same thing happened with all of Ziggs' cases, when there was actually a bad guy that escaped scot-free, and they all died. but not by Zeke's hands, but by fate. In which case, that's scary as fuck. That would actually be pretty cool, not gonna lie. Like I would go with that a lot more than if it was Zeke's like all the damn time. I would love that if it was a fate. Yeah, well, it don't bother me.
Oh, really?
Of course not. The way I see it, the Reaper's a bit like I'm upstairs. You see, this is the stuff that I like to see more, like questioning characters and, you know, who knows, maybe going into even more supernatural stuff, like, is Zeke's the one who is doing all these kills? Is it fate that all the bad guys eventually end up dead as long as Zeke's is involved in the cases in some way? Who knows? Like, that's pretty interesting to me, even to this point. Like, I'm more interested in this sort of stuff at this point. Him upstairs? You mean like God? Yeah. I'm upstairs knows what's what, right? Him upstairs knows what. Yeah. Me, myself upstairs, Gina upstairs along with God, having a good time together. No, him upstairs knows what's what, right? He knows what people are like on the inside. You won't have got the wrong end of the stick. There's some cuff like that Buck Trotter, where I run to the corner. At the end of the day, him upstairs makes sure they get what they deserve. Like I swear, do I remember before if Gina had some comments about God and religion and such? Like, who knows, maybe Gina is having like a character development over here where she is now supporting God a lot more since people around here, like around her, are being more like, you know, like things are turning up good for once in Gina's life, thus she's thanking God now a lot more. I'm pretty curious if Gina had some comments about God before. I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Divine justice is one thing, though. The Reaper taking matters into his own hands and claiming lives is another. Well, I ain't like the McGildeds of this world, so I ain't scared. I got principles, see. A trait in you which is to be admired, Mrs. Strong. Oi! Just give her the rest, alright? As I was saying, congratulations are in order. The news of your acquittal was very welcome news to me indeed. Let me express my heartfelt congratulations, Gina.
There you are, Hurdy. How long have you been here? Honestly, I went to the main entrance especially to meet you there.
Ah, Iris, my dear. I do apologize. But wait until I tell you what happened. Despair made utter fools of themselves.
What happened?
As you know, I have a penchant for disguise. I was hiding in this room dressed as a bailiff. But these toads didn't notice my presence at all. They had no idea. Can you imagine, Iris? Would you credit it?
I'm not sure, really.
I beg your pardon?
I'm sorry, Hurdy, but you just don't have the weighty presence you seem to think you have.
Oh?
In fact, you really ought to be careful about that. It's going to land you in trouble one day.
I'll be careful. Ow. If there is one person that can control Hurley, it will be Iris.
Anyway, it's such a shame. I was hoping to throw a party for Jeannie tonight. But you won't be able to come, will you?
Don't look like I'm gonna be going nowhere for a while. You're the judge's pattern. I got stuff to make amends for, apparently. All them offenses. I cannot say that I really know what that means. If you're still gonna be locked in jail for a little bit. That or you're doing like work for the community and such. I don't know, just cleaning stuff around, or maybe work for somebody in order to pay your dues and such. Maybe stuff like that. What was it again? Breaking and entering, taking the box charter stuff, what was in lug, blah blah blah. Yeah, I think you'll find that basically being a pickpocket is the main offense. But diving ain't an offense. It's a job, innit? No? Still, it has got me thinking all this. Maybe I should start looking for another line of work. I mean, you didn't start off as a lawyer, did ya, Otto? No, but I was never a pickpocket, that's for sure. Well, anyway, I reckon I could make a change. I'm gonna do something or all them lot like me, from the slums. Something that makes a difference for them. Heck yeah!
That's a wonderful idea, Genie. I'm sure you can do it. What is it?
Nothing. Miss Gina Lestrade! The prison carriage has arrived, ma'am. Come with me to the Grey Gate at once. The prison cage. I was thinking about the omnibus for a second. I was like, oh god, we're doing this again? No. But okay, the prison carriage. Can we go with you though? Right. Oh, looks like I'm off then. Yeah. Goodbye, Gina. And good luck. See you, Gina. Yeah, it has been nice seeing you. I think that you're gonna have a much better life from now on, and I know that you're gonna do great from now on. Although, yes. Okay. Duh. Ah! What was that for? I don't know. I mean, it's her sign of affection. Don't question it. I don't know what to say, so... Ah, indeed. Perhaps the situation calls for a phrase hidden or missing from your vocabulary, Miss Lestrade. Eh? The fuck did you just say? What's with all these complicated words you keep throwing at me? On occasions such as this, I would recommend a simple thank you. Oh.
Oh, yes. It's good advice, Genie.
Alright, I see. Well... Thanks, Odo. Thank you for everything what you've done. For believing in me. Wow. That's even better! And this was your first time, Gina. Not at all. In fact, that should be my line. Thank you, Gina. Ooh. Okay, well, there she goes. I wonder if I'll ever see her again. Well, quite the indomitable pippers.
Oh, I nearly forgot. I bought a paper outside. It's a special edition, and this Charlie is all over the front page.
Already?
Pickpockets innocent proven. Isn't it wonderful?
You should have shown it to Gina, Iris. She would have been thrilled.
Oh no. How silly of me.
Maybe you can show her like next time.
Well anyway, would you like the good news or the bad news?
Okay, well, let's go with the bad news first.
Well, what do you say, Rena? Alrighty.
As usual, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way first. Absolutely not. I have no intention of listening to anything but good news.
And there you have it. How people answer that question says a lot about them, doesn't it?
Well, what does that mean? Well, you know, I guess from Sholmes' perspective, he could hear the bad news and still think of it as good news, as long as he sees some part of that bad news as good news for him. If only all of us could be like Sherlock Sholmes. Let's not go there.
Alright then. Maybe let's start with the good news this time. The rain has finally stopped. It was a record level of rainfall, apparently.
I wonder if we are actually gonna be going a particular route with this rain stuff. In which case, I'd see this as bad news in this case. Because of something, because if the rain stopped, then we gotta be somewhere else, you know? Maybe somewhere else, and we should go there like really fast. I'm just saying. Well, that is good news indeed. We can journey back in greater comfort. Alright then, what's the bad news?
The huge storm has left the seas very choppy. The channel rain particularly is awful, so sailings out of Dover have been delayed by a day or more.
Even now? So we still have like one more day left? Wait, Dover?
That's right. If you head to the station immediately, we may still make it in time to wave Susie off.
Alright, let's go! But there won't be a train, surely. We couldn't be that lucky. Who do you think I am, Miss Naruto? Oh god. Sherlock Sholmes, no! You managed to hijack a train as well? While we were, like, focusing on the trial? Mr. Sholmes? I rushed to Victoria Station earlier. I made arrangement for a special express. Oh, okay, that's good. Jesus. If we hurry now, we shall be there in time for dinner. And I know of a fine restaurant that serves the most delicious baked soup. Well, the great detective does it again, folks. Indeed he does. I happen to be aware of a number of the rail transport director's foibles. What? I merely make my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily laid on the locomotive. Elementary! Just an idea, but it might be wise to stop manipulating people that way, you know.
What are we waiting for then? To London Victoria.
Oof. This place looks great. Look at this. Looks beautiful. That took somewhat longer than I had anticipated.
But must be about to leave now.
Miss Sato, where are you? Ah, there she is. There, look! She's reading something.
Hold it!
Whoa, hold on. Sato, wait. What are you doing? Miss Naruto, what are you doing here? Trying to get away with crime, Miss Sato? Joking. Here. We came as soon as we could after the trial. I mean, we heard that sailings were being delayed due to the bad weather, you see. Oh, I see. Then tell me, how did Gina's trial go? It went well. She was acquitted. That's wonderful. Really wonderful news. Yeah. Although not entirely, she still has... still did some crimes here and there that are not as punishable as her being guilty for Weedybag's murder and such. She's probably gonna have like a lot of work to do for the community or something like that, but we did manage to prove her innocence in the other area. The book you were about to throw into the sea. It was your Encyclopedia of British Law, wasn't it? Oh. Oh dear. I was hoping you hadn't seen that. I'm not worthy of practicing law in any way now. So, I was saying my final farewell. You were saying goodbye to law? You, Sato-san? Would I be correct in assuming it's because of the people, Miss Sato? I deliberately altered the scene of crime, and then I tried to hide the fact. What I did is utterly unforgivable.
That reminds me. How did you even come to have this, Susie?
On the evening of the incident, Mr. Shums had invited Gina to dinner, if you remember. Wait a minute. Did you use Gina's pickpocketing skills that you just learned at that point to pickpocket the device from Iris?
Oh, yes. We had a wonderful time.
Well, Gina gave us a little introductory lesson, didn't she? Yeah. To the art of pickpocketing, I mean.
Oh, it was so much fun. I stole Chrono's armband at that point.
Yeah, please don't do that again, Iris. That band's very important to me.
Well, if it's so important, you should pay more attention to it. You didn't notice for ages.
On a whim, I thought it would be fun to see if I could take the cap flap-o out. So I put it up my sleeve.
Really?
And then I rather forgot about it, until I found myself in Mr. Weedybag's shop later that night. I see. And then...
Ah! Mr. Shums! Mr. Shums!
Leave me, Miss Naruhodo. Right. After Miss Naruhodo had left the shop, I started to think. The door started to play on my mind. The storeroom door, you mean? Yes. If Gina was anywhere in the shop, I realized it could only be behind that door. And at that moment, the little device that I had up my sleeve sprang to my mind. I was so worried about Gina, I simply had to know. So, here's the clap of that to make the peephole in the door.
It's captured in a photographic print of the shop. By one of Hurley's red-handed recorders.
Indeed. He was at the first important step point. Precisely when the peephole was made. That information would prove to be Miss Naruhodo's greatest weapon. Though naturally, without proof, it would have amounted to nothing. When I looked through the hole in the door, and the sight that met my eyes made my blood run cold. Thoughts started to run through my mind. I remembered that trial 2 months earlier, and the trial of Magnus but Gilded. I thought about how he had manipulated the evidence and arranged false testimony to secure his freedom. It made the British justice system feel very dark and sinister to me. And then a terrible thought occurred to me. What if some wicked criminal was planning to do the same thing now? What? Because from the appearance of the crime scene, it looked exactly as though Gina had shot Mr. Weedybag. Though I was sure she would never have done such a thing. You were worried that the true culprit would try to frame her for the crime?
That's right. But then I realized it would be very difficult for anyone to give false testimony in this case.
What do you mean?
Well, the crime appeared to have happened behind the door of a locked room. For someone to claim falsely to have witnessed it, there will have to be a way to see beyond the door.
So, what I'm understanding over here is not only did you want to see what was inside, which may have been the first thing that you thought of, but you did realize that somebody was gonna use like this as testimony to lie through their teeth, and you knew that they were gonna use that, so for which the people would be the very thing.
Only the people I had made wasn't actually there until after the crime had been committed, of course. And the criminal would know that, so it wouldn't make any difference.
But the possibly the rather ingenious trap was there, was it not? Trap? Is that why she did it? Yeah. Maybe Susato really thought ahead that we would arrive at that point where we could use the people against Graydon, while Graydon is using it. Graydon thought that the people would be his scapegoat, but it would actually be a trap for him, because we would see through that as well.
So, is that why you kept it a secret, Susie? You never mentioned that you made the people to anyone, not even to the police.
I know. I knew at the time what I was doing was wrong. A criminal offense, even. That's why I decided to confide in Mr. Shams. If Mr. Naruto was completely backed into a corner with all the possible means of escape, the truth about the people could have saved him. And that was my plan. She really does think of everything. And you say that you want to give up on law? But then, why didn't you just tell me everything before the trial began? My dear fellow, you're not thinking straight. If you had done that, it would have rendered you complicit in the whole escapade. Ugh. You would have been disbarred if you had been seen to have knowingly tampered with a crime scene. So Mr. Sato decided to shoulder the burden of responsibility alone. For your sake, and Miss Lestrade's. Miss Sato.
The truth is, when it happened, I did it because I lost a little of my faith in the law. I was worried that the right person wouldn't be convicted of the crime. But the moment I allowed myself to think that, is the moment I lost my right to call myself a judicial assistant.
I mean, you did manage to help Gina with this. If it wasn't for you, nonetheless, whatever you may think of the law, you did manage to save Gina with this. You did manage to help Ryonosuke with this, so I don't see like any problem with this, like at all. What he did isn't comparable to what he did. Kraden is the one who lied in the witness stand, using that people as a way to implicate Gina. And besides, if the people inconsistency hadn't existed, I'm not sure that she would have been acquitted in the end. Yeah, that's true. Sato, what you did, it saved Gina's life.
Oh, with your kind words, Miss Naruto. You saved me too, from my regrets.
Oh, you smart little cookie. You think of everything, but you didn't even think about this. Ugh. Well, we must all be thankful that Mrs. Child's freedom has been assured. Yeah, exactly. Although some of the loose ends in that show will continue to play on my mind, I'm sure. But the revelation that the music box disc contains secret messages, Miss Naruto. When they're trying to work that out, I'm full of admiration. Well, actually, that argument wasn't quite as compelling as I thought it was. Oh, it wasn't? There was a communications officer among the jury members, you see. A telegraph operator. And she said that the majority of sounds on the disc were just meaningless tones. As one would expect. After all, we are talking about secret government communications. No doubt they were written in cipher to avoid being readily understood should they have been intercepted. Cipher? Cipher? I see. So we're still talking about secret governments, right? So then we could never have hoped to understand the message anyway. Nonsense, my dear fellow. It's quite a zero-pipe problem, I assure you. Oh. Ah. So. Ki? Kazmaso. Wait, what? What?
That can be a real word, can it? How funny.
Wait a minute. Are you actually thinking about that Morse code? And you're trying to decipher it? And you heard Asogi?
Wait, Iris, what did you just say? Oh, I just said Asagi. Does that word mean something to you?
I mean, it's something. Asogi was the name of my best friend.
What? But how? How do you know that name, Iris?
Well, you never really told her about the Kazuma?
I wrote it down during the chat before, when the message was playing on the music box.
She transcribed it on a fly. She really is a genius. Not gonna lie, these people are quite scary sometimes. Susato, Iris, Sholmes, everybody. Ooh.
I thought the message probably wouldn't be written out in plain Morse code, so I tried various ways to interpret it. Whenever I tried, the words just didn't seem to make any sense. That is, in English at least.
Oh, so they're... Yeah, I guess so. The reason why nobody was, the communications officer didn't really understand that it was complete gibberish to her was because it was completely different language. It's still Morse code, but it's not in English, it's in Japanese.
It suddenly occurred to me, you see. There's more than one Morse code. Not just the English variety. Various countries around the world have altered and added to Morse code to use it in their own languages.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't believe it. Are you saying...
That's right. I've only actually seen the chatter Japanese Morse code once before. But I think it's based on the Iroha pangram, isn't it?
Iroha pangram. And you mean to say that in Japanese Morse code, the message says Asogi? Just Asogi? Or there's more to it?
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, but I don't remember all the Japanese Morse code.
Oh, so there's more.
Yes.
Would you let me see that? Sato, do you know it? Do you know Japanese Morse code?
Yes. I spent some time studying it.
Of course you did.
Because I'm quite sure Morse code will become ever more important for international communications.
Then might I recommend, my dear madam, that you focus your efforts on the English version.
Be that as it may. Iris, show me the message, please.
Sholmes here is trying to convince Susato into sneakily going back to learning the law and such by doing this.
Of course.
But what can this possibly mean? Whatever's in that long sequence of supposedly meaningless dots and dashes. It's made the color drain from Sato-san's face.
There's no doubt that this message is written in Japanese Morse code.
So the British Empire has been using Japanese for its secret communications?
I don't understand the reason why, but the message appears to be a list of 4 people's names.
4 names?
The first is Keiya Sogi.
Kazuma Sogi. Why was his name on that disc? Well, we do remember that before this, like before we came to London, Kazuma did have his special mission. Maybe his special mission is of the government secrets variety. Like, it is quite huge.
The second is Shin.
Shin? I don't recognize that name.
The third is T. Gurigu-san.
Guregu-san? Oh, it's English! Okay. Shin. Oh, it would seem Tobias Gregson is the third man on the list. What's his name doing in secret government communications as well?
And the last name.
What's the matter, Miss Sato?
It's just so strange.
So unexpected.
Oh, what is this, Susie? Don't keep us in suspense.
The last name is J. Wilson. Oof.
What?
Wilson?
John H. Wilson? You mean Daddy?
It says only J. Wilson. So I'm afraid I cannot be sure.
Then after the 4 names, it reads, if I translate from Japanese, that is all 4. And that's the end of the message. Or rather, the end of what you noted down, Iris.
Just can't believe it. Who'd ever have thought that those discs contain Japanese Morse code? Not to mention a strange list of some disturbingly familiar names. It appeared that this particular message is a communications of some kind between Great Britain and the Empire of Japan.
So, Daddy could be in Japan then. Where's Susie and Runa come from?
Phew. Okay. Now I can see that. Like, the first person that was declared guilty, well, not that declared guilty, but you found the true culprit of the first case, that woman that, I'm forgetting her name, like, whatever. Like, that woman must have been after Wilson because of some really, like, high-scale stuff when it comes to these government secrets. Like some special mission and such.
Oh, well... No, it's not very likely really, is it? I mean, there are thousands of people with the surname Wilson, and there must be lots of J's among them.
Professor John H. Wilson, visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial University. And he was in London. Well, you can't tell Iris about that now. You just can't. It's so strange. Somehow, it's only the case of Mr. Wienerbeck's murder today. I feel like I rolled back a boulder at the moment of a very dark cave.
I do wonder if perhaps it's a dark cave that we shouldn't go wandering inside.
Oh?
Oh dear, the ship is going to set sail soon.
Yeah, it seems so.
I'll sail on that steamship first. to the port of Dunkirk in France. Then I'll change onto a larger passenger vessel bound for Japan. You're really going then, Susie.
We wish you a safe passage, Miss Sato.
Thank you so much. I should wish you all the very best.
And I will be wishing you the very best as well, Sato. Sato, I had hoped to have you always at my side, to guide me and support me.
Snarudo.
Please, come back soon. As far as I'm concerned, you really are the very best judicial assistant in the world.
Quite sure. I'll be back before you know it.
Alright.
Really, Susie? Oh, no, don't forget, Iris. I made you a promise I've yet to fulfill. Promise? About your manuscript. Oh.
Yeah, the Hound of the Baskervilles.
I'll be waiting for you then, Susie. A promise is a promise. Definitely, Iris.
Miss Naruto. Yes? Do you remember the first time we met? Yeah, of course. On the SS Beauty, when I was dragged out from that wardrobe, still half asleep. If I remember rightly, you threw me halfway across the cabin with a Susato takedown. Can we do like one final Susato takedown? Just throw him into the water?
You know very well that I'm talking about after that. It's strange, but being thrown together as we were in that case, I sort of felt straight away. Now you were the perfect person to continue Kazuma-sama's great legacy.
Sato.
And my instincts were right. I really want to believe. No, I'm sure that I'll be back soon. Farewell until then.
Alright then. Bye.
Somehow we seem to have come to the end of the adventures of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Or the first volume, at least. Looking back now, it feels as though fate has led me on this journey. Fate led me to becoming a lawyer, to traveling halfway around the world, to meeting the great detective. I'm sure there'll be trials and tribulations ahead. Of course there will. But whatever happens, I know I'll be able to turn my fortunes around. After all, I have the greatest friends in the world on my side.
Ah, yes, Miss Naruto. What is it? Like, do you have something else that you want to say before the credits? Yes, Mr. Sholmes? I have some rather awkward news. The railway company has decided to sue over the special express train, apparently.
It caused such a commotion on the line. All the other trains had to wait at stations.
But really, we would never have made it to Dover in time otherwise. Anyway, I explained everything, and how it was all your fault. Holmes. I believe a formal complaint should be delivered to your office tomorrow. But not to worry, my dear fellow. According to Miss Susato,
You love defending yourself in court.
Ha. Eh? Eh?
It's alright. I'm perfectly happy to testify. He really didn't look like the sort of man who would do something so outrageous. See?
Alright, Ryunosuke. I think it is time for your one final objection. Mr. Sholmes. Yes. A word, if you don't mind. Why, certainly. Any word you like. Blow it out, my dear fellow. Let's go. For your favorite word in the world.
Yes, I love Runa's words, and I know just the one he'll use here.
Then, I really must say,
Objection!
in the following weeks, hundreds of music boxes arrived at Baker Street from all over Europe. Something was afoot, though it transpired I would order them all myself. So I advertised them for sale, used by Mr. Sholmes to solve an important case. And the money I've earned, consulted the detective work pays a pittance by comparison.
I haven't slept a wink. This manuscript is due tomorrow now. When I'm this busy, Ernie usually cooks me breakfast. Now, cooks is an overstatement for some dry toast and insipid coffee. I do miss Susie and her lovely Japanese breakfasts.
Witness, your testimony is riddled with contradictions. Exactly. Rarely do rare Koban coins hide under rare stakes themselves. Well, I don't know, sir. Knows his father is an innocent man. Why are you calling my son a liar? Witnesses, my courtroom is no place for your petty arguments. Having delivered the Russian dancer to shore in Shanghai, I laid low on the steamship for a while. But last night, I apprehended an extremely suspicious Japanese national on board. I've done nothing wrong. All I did was give Yaga his offscreen refuge in my pocket. And then bring some kittens on board, and suddenly he's a hardened criminal. It's not fair! Scientific investigation will be the gold standard for policing in the new age. I dream of a world governed by the tenets of order and discipline, like a great clock in fact, whose hundreds of parts mesh together in perfect unison. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have but 2 minutes and 37 seconds till my next appointment.
The latest Rants magazine is out, and I'm in it again. Whenever I say that one line she wrote now, I get a standing ovation. Wanna hear it? Not bad, I suppose, for an amateur. Her ladyship puts me to shame.
Been visiting the old girl on a daily basis, of course. Johnny, my old jailbird. Must say, battling with those bally stairs every day has done wonders for that dicky back. Managing rather well with the housework too. Got this made business tapped up, I'd say.
Hope the gossipy neighbors don't realize the man of the house is his own maid.
My Roddy's back on the beat again. All thanks to the Reaper.
There's nothing I enjoy more these days than hunting out small change in the gutter. I'm a better Bobby now, looking out for Londoners, their dropped halfpennies, and my lovely wife. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Roddy.
Looks like I'm gonna be doing time for a bit now. But Iris comes every day for a map, so it ain't too boring. She's always going on about all the cases of what Shams is looking into.
Criminal investigations are kind of interesting when you get into them.
Yes, I renounced my upbringing and chose a life of sophisticated crime. But regrets? Please. Give her a bruv. That ain't the ash we used to know. We got time in here to plan the comeback of Milton and Skulking's milk run, right? The free musky whatsits, milking the neighborhood for all its wealth. Oh, so that's why he dances all the time. Okay, now I get it.
This past 6 months have been a time I shall remember forevermore. Painful goodbyes and woeful encounters. I've come to realize that's what life is all about. Narada-san, I promise, your assistant will return to you one day. But for now, I leave you with many memories, and a heartfelt wish that life will treat you well.